In 1974, the first tabletop role-playing game was created. Since then, people from all around have gathered to play. Join me as we talk with RPG enthusiasts while they share their best, worst, and favorite moments. This is You Had to Be There. Hey everyone, welcome to You Had to Be There, a D&D storytelling podcast. You're actually catching me first time live in the new studio. And by new studio, I mean I moved my computer into another room. If it's your first time joining us here on stream, is a podcast, TV show thing, whatever we talk about fun Dungeons & Dragons stories. The music for my intro was created by Nicole Summers from the Reliably Chaotic podcast, and the logo for my podcast was created by Nicole Summers. The music was created by Michael James McGarry. You can find him on It's MJ Music or It's MJ Made on Instagram. If you want to be a guest on the show, it's pretty easy, like my guest today, that I'm going to introduce shortly. Just emailed me at D&D podcast at gmail.com. Man, new studio's got me all flustered today. I'm also a stand-up comedian, so be sure to check out the links in my descriptions to follow me. I have a ton of shows coming up in January. I have one this Saturday, which is my birthday, actually. Yeah. But let's bring it over to my guest. My guest today is Anim 5. So let's just talk about, the name Anim 5, is that because I'll let you do I know I kind of said before, I was like, oh, you'll plug your stuff at the end, but I do kind of want to know a little bit more about the name here.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank you for having me as a guest.
Yeah, absolutely.
And also, I've got an intense admiration and jealousy of you because of the cojones you have to be a stand-up comedian, and my condolences for the entirety of the year 2020 and 2021.
It keeps on going. We keep finding things, and it's all part of the game. I mean, as far as that goes. But go ahead.
It takes nerve, and it takes a special kind of bravery for you to do what you do, considering even when things are relatively normal or used to be.
Bravery is strong. I think it's a little bit of psychopathicness or mental instability, but that's okay. That's why we do these things. That's why we love
exactly.
With abstract thinking kind of leads us to these outlets of creativity, which kind of I think is why I've said it a few times, but for years I used to say I want to play Dungeons and Dragons, but I'm afraid to play Dungeons and Dragons because I think I'm going to like it way, way too much. And 4 months into playing Dungeons and Dragons, I decided I needed to have a podcast and talk to everybody about it. So,
excellent.
So you also, I think you mentioned you do some streaming as well, right? So your Anim 5, is that your like gamer tag kind of?
Anim 5 was the single worst mistake I made in 1991.
Okay, that was the year I was born. So that's the second worst thing to happen in 1991.
Things to put on the calendar, yeah.
Yeah.
It's actually the name of an animation format that was used on the Amiga, the Commodore Amiga. Yes, that's that long ago.
Okay.
But they had a very specific formula, like .jpeg or .png or something like that. This is .anim5 for the Amiga. The trouble with it was and has been, everybody hears Adam 5 rather than Anim 5. So you take the word animation, chop the Asian off, you got the Anim, and then you stick the number 5. I thought I was so clever.
Yeah.
And nobody can find me. Everyone hears Adam
5. Yeah.
But I stuck with it.
It's worth it. I think it's kind of cool. I think what's cool about it is like it looks cool. It looks legit, like a name. But then like someone who knows what it is will probably like that little Easter egg on the inside of what it truly stands for.
Hey, good for them. I wish they'd get in touch.
Well, we'll work on that. But
It looks odd in streaming, though. It does look odd in streaming. And general, no, actually, I don't stream. I haven't made use of Twitch.
Okay.
I did do podcasting for a while. I started my first podcast in 2006.
All right. Nice.
And that was International Detective Dragons from Outer Space.
Well, that sounds kind of relevant to the general topic of this show, so let's talk about it. So, International
Detective Dragons from Outer Space, or IDDFOS.
Okay.
That lasted until 2008. And then in 2008, I started putting out an actual gaming podcast called The Gutter Skypes.
Nice. What was it? Gaming, like tabletop role-playing games, or was it?
It was. It started. What I wanted it to be was a gaming podcast, and I was leaning towards Dungeons and Dragons. But we didn't actually get to that until about 5 years ago.
Okay.
We went down the full gamut. It was pretty much set up and co-founded by myself and Mark Kinney of All Games Considered. He had a podcast that was running for far longer than mine, and he and the group would introduce new games, more in the indie side of the industry. We played Fiasco, Spirit of the Century, Sex Lies and Ultra Spies, Hollow Earth Expedition, Leopard Women of Venus. That was memorable.
Okay.
And Swashbucklers of the Seven Skies and Fringeworthy. We went down the list. We just went through it, and then finally we got to Dungeons and Dragons, which I just had to get into DMing, so that was fun.
Yeah, no, that's great. Good for you. So when did you start playing Dungeons and Dragons? When did you first kind of crack open into that? Because I'm assuming that you've been playing for quite some time, and that fascinates me.
Well, I refer to myself as a grog noob. There's quite a few of your audience out there that are going to know what grognard means. The grognards are the guys that, I was playing chainmail before Dragons even came out, and have been doing it for decades and year after year. They're referred to as a grognard. I call myself a grog noob because I played my first couple of games in 1977, not having any particular interest in really getting into the game or learning how it worked, but mainly because I heard there were going to be girls there.
So someone lied to you?
Well, yes and no. It's the vague general memories. I don't even remember the name of the character, so I knew where my focus was.
Got it.
But,
I'm just kidding. No, I'm sure there probably were, right?
It's true. There were girls there. It was always somebody else's girlfriend or, something like that.
Truth.
But, I just showed up because I was going to an all-boys high school. And, oh, man. Anyway, other story. That's an entirely different thing. So, 1977, which was kind of pretty much a landmark year. That's the year Star Wars came out. Yeah. That's the year. This whole Twitch thing and YouTube thing and this explosion of tabletop role-playing games, along with the interests in the talk shows and the discussions about so much else, is for the past 5 years been like a time machine.
Yeah,
because in 1977, me, my friends, whatever, the main topics of interest: Star Trek, Lord of the Rings, Battlestar Galactica, although that's been 5 or 6 years ago, and Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
And now I'm seeing it all come around again, and watching these actual play podcasts and listening to them. It's just taking a time machine back to when I was having fun and getting along with my friends and doing some fun things.
Yeah, it's really exploded, and it's really impressive to see how drastic it was. But it is really people like you who started so very long ago that kind of paved the way for it. Because I've also love Lord of the Rings. Like I used to just watch those movies. I'm not a big reader, but I love to watch and I love to pretend. And I used to be a little kid just running around the front yard with my friends, and I was like, who gets to play?
Exactly.
You know, I'm gonna play Legolas this time. I'm gonna play. We used to take a croquet
Exactly.
hammer, and I'm like, I'm Gimli now. I got my croquet hammer. Like this is it. Like, and that was it. That was like we would do that for hours, and it's
Excellent.
amazing. What was it like? Like when you first kind of played a game like that for the first time. What was it? What did it feel like? Like that new type of game?
Well,
Because it like for us, it's like I play a game like D&D, just to like kind of elaborate a little bit. I play a game like D&D, and I'm like, oh, this is like how all video games started. And like, oh, I see every video
yeah.
game that I've ever played. Oh, it makes sense. I'm wearing heavy armor, so I can't move as fast, and I need the strength. And it's the same thing when you're doing a build in like Skyrim. And I saw as I started to learn to play this game how it all translated. But how did it feel at that time when you had nothing to compare it to, really?
Well, there's a period there, especially without it having its predecessors, because it was groundbreaking, where you didn't quite know what you were playing.
Right.
Because, and the thing that we probably weren't, I mean, this wasn't something that we were cognizant of at the time, but the thing that you discover looking back on it is, you're familiar with the right brain, left brain theory. The right brain very artistic, the left brain very analytical,
Yes.
and math driven, that kind of thing. Right
Yeah.
brain story driven. This was an activity, a game that appealed to both halves of the brain.
Yeah.
The part that you considered yourself imaginative, artistic, looking for a new way to create something, and especially socializing with your friends, you got the right brain part of it. That's getting a real kick out of pretending to be Kronk.
Right.
Do you rue attacking Kronk? Do you rue it? I don't know if you're familiar with that. Have you seen
I'm
Fear of
not.
Girls?
What was
Oh,
that?
good God.
Fear
You've
of
got to
Girls?
see this. Fear of Girls, 2007.
I'm gonna write it
You'll
down.
find it on video, and have a change of underwear handy, because
Fear
it's,
of Girls. All right.
yeah.
I at some point in time, I'm sure most people can
Well,
relate at some point in
it's
time.
11 minutes. It's 11 minutes long. It won't take you.
Okay. I'll
but
watch it.
but
Yeah.
Since you've been playing, you have the in jokes. You
Got it.
will understand the
I will
humor.
understand.
Very niche. Very niche
Fascinating.
humor.
Cool.
So yeah.
Go ahead.
Then I dropped it. I dropped it for decades. I don't think I played again until there was a quick foray into it in 1985. I DM'd for one of my roommates and his girlfriend, and I didn't know what I was doing. I was pulling it all out of a donkey's butt. I hardly looked at the rules. It's just you roll dice, and I don't think they were looking for much more than that either. And then I dropped it because I went from high school into a theater program, and spent the next 28 years doing theater. So I was kind of like, why would I spend my spare time playing pretend when I get paid to play pretend?
To play pretend. Yeah, of course. That's the dream, man.
Yeah.
Getting paid to play pretend is the dream.
Yeah, I practically did somersaults up the stairs when I got my equity card. I went nuts.
Nice.
But I stepped away from it, and then looking for, as an actor, and I don't need to tell you this, if you're a performer of any kind, you are constantly looking for work.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And that got a little old. I got a little tired of that, and I went into. I didn't leave theater. I went more into the tech aspects, which I also supported myself with, and ended up becoming a warehouse manager for one of the largest East Coast theaters there is, Paper Mill Playhouse. So every day I was surrounded by. I was still in a job where I had to know how to spell proscenium.
Oh.
So that was good enough for me. Yeah, and then.
Yeah. So when did you pick it back up?
I picked it back up probably about 10 years ago.
Oh, okay.
Maybe
So,
maybe 15, maybe 15.
so then when do you remember what edition you started? Was it first
Oh,
edition?
no, it was
Second?
5e.
No. When you
Oh, back in 77 and
yeah,
85, probably AD&D.
80. Okay, so you went from the second one to
Fifth
this new
edition,
one. Was
yeah.
it like did it was it a sigh of relief? Was it a sign of disappointment? Because I know like everyone has these either they're like, oh my god, fifth edition made it so much better,
It was a
versus they're
gasp.
like they ruined it.
No, it was a gasp of surprise.
Yeah.
Because all those other games that I talked about before, Fiasco, Spirit of the Fiasco, Swashbucklers of the Southern Skies was the first one I tried to DM seriously. But when the video started coming out with the actual play for 5e, and then of course in 2015 when Liam O'Brien, no, 2013 I think it was. What do my notes say? Yeah, 2013 Liam O'Brien had a birthday party and then everything blew up.
Really? Oh, that's right. That's the famous How Critical Role started.
You know what I'd
right?
like for my birthday?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then 2 years later they're on Geek and Sundry, and then everybody locks eyes on Marisha Ray, and then locks eyes on Matt Mercer, and forget about it.
Yeah, it was.
Before that, it was Fear of Girls. Before that, it was Fear of Girls and The Gamers.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've heard of The Gamers. You may want to write that one down too.
The Gamers. Okay.
Yeah. Because that's pivotal. That's a watermark in people seeing stuff like that. I
will, everyone has their opinions and stuff, but the one thing I have, there's many things that my generation, I shake my head at, but the one thing that I love about my generation is that we said, well, we can get real jobs and also not grow up. Like, it is kind of like, and it kind of, you also, like, a lot of other generations do that, but, like, we put it out there. Be like, wait, we don't have to, because, like, the whole standard was, like, you hit a certain age, you stop playing these stupid games, and you move on. And clearly, you kept playing them. But I feel like what's great is that, like, now we have this driving force of, like, it's out there, and there's nothing to stop it now.
Well, you should have pride in your generation, particularly the folks that gravitate towards this stream and streams like it.
Yeah.
Simply because of the intelligence and the imagination. But it does happen from generation to generation.
Yeah.
The thing that's difficult for you guys is you have so much more to sift through. In order to find your niche, in order to find your thing. In 77, it was Star Trek, Star Wars, like I said, and that was it.
Yeah.
Aside from the explosion of fantasy novels that came out at the time. The media, it took them a long time to learn from Star Wars that you can't do epic on a bubblegum budget. And that's what they were doing for the longest time. It's like, oh, yeah, space ray guns and spaceships and bug-eyed monsters and whatever. We can put a guy in a rubber suit down on lot 3. And Lucas had to show them. It's like, you want to do this for real? This is how you do a science fiction film.
Awesome. Yeah, for sure.
And yeah, so you've got decades and decades beyond that, not only in animation and film and television, but the gaming industry. I mean, the CCG collectible card games, they exploded too.
Oh yeah.
And you've got so many niches to be the nerd in, the geek in, the knowledgeable one about.
It's overwhelming. Like, I don't know how some people do it, because I talk to some people and I'm like, how do you watch all of those animes and you can kick my ass in Magic the Gathering and you run games? You're like, what do you not eat or sleep, or like, what don't you do? What are you cutting out of your life? It's amazing.
You gotta wonder.
I don't know, because it's like they're injecting it like a drug. It's crazy.
But it does skip from generation. I mean, it goes from generation to generation, because even back in 77, there were some folks that I was, closely associated with, who knew star dates for the episodes. And I'm kind of like, seriously?
But that's what's crazy too, is younger generation will also consume what happened back in the in the 80s and
That's
the
right.
70s, and that's
You
like,
got all that stuff to
yeah,
pile up on too.
like if you like,
Wow.
I consider myself a massive Doctor Who fan, but I do not watch classic Who. I don't have the attention span for it. It just is too slow. But some people do, and I'm like, that's from 1960. How do you consume that much
Yeah.
and know everything? But I do want to get back. So when you picked up fifth edition, did you DM right away or did you play?
Yeah.
You DM'd right away. All right. So what did you do?
Yeah.
Did you grab that book and just went old school and just like sifted through the whole thing? And did you form a group? Like what was your plan of attack when you're like, I'm gonna get back into this after a couple decades?
When 3.5 came out, I bought all 3 books and I sat in their sleeve on the shelf.
Oh, do you still have them?
Oh yeah.
Did you open them?
Oh yeah, I've looked through
okay.
them.
I was about to be like,
But at the time, when 3.5 came out, I bought them because I'm like, I want to get back into this. Yeah, sure. And then fourth edition came out, and then and I was watching, and I bought those books too, and they're in their sleeve as well. And I didn't look at those either because once again I was caught up in the theater and doing all this other stuff. Didn't have the time, and also the YouTube videos are starting to get more prevalent than the actual play. How can I forget his name? Regardless, one of the people from Wizards of the Coast was running a game, and it was 4th edition, and I saw him running the game, and I thought, this is just a way to get people from WoW over into tabletop RPGs, because they were practically emulating the thing that they're the foundation of.
Right.
Like, let's make 4th edition play more like people playing WoW.
Got it.
And then 5th edition came out, and I picked up those books, and then it wasn't actually. I picked up the books after I was determined I was going to start DMing or playing, because once again, the explosion of the actual play podcasts, the arrival of Critical Role, and I mean, I was watching that religiously from probably about the 3rd or 4th stream.
Wow.
So it's been going back away. So yeah, I DM'd right from the start.
Nice. Did you run a module, or are you more of a home brewer?
No, I homebrewed an original world called Zutane from a plate of roast beef.
Wait, hold on.
Yeah, that begs an explanation.
You created... Oh, indeed it does, good sir. Always. So you created a world called Zutane, and it was based off of a plate of roast beef?
If you take a picture, I don't know whether you can share a screen, but it's probably easy enough just to explain.
You can describe it. DM it to me. Describe it to me.
Yeah.
The juiciness, the cut.
Get a regular full color picture of somebody's plate of roast beef. You search for it on Google or whatever.
Okay.
Take that picture, get it into a paint program of any kind, because most of them have the ability to turn a picture into 2 colors, black and white.
Okay.
It will reduce it down to, this is it. Some call it threshold, some call it something else, whatever. Just take this picture and make it just 2 colors, black and white.
Uh-huh.
Now, zoom in and blow up the area that's just the meat, just the roast beef. Okay. And it works with other foods as well. It's like one of those stereogram things where you look at something long enough and it suddenly becomes 3D.
Yeah.
Yeah, magic eye pictures or whatever.
Yeah. I can't do it. My eyes go cross-eyed, but I know what you mean.
You look at the black areas and you see ocean. You look at the white areas and you see the most organic, convincing continental landforms, islands, and strips of mountain.
Okay. I get what you're saying. I can see it now. I can see like the ridges and that's.
And you could just grab a piece of it, make just a piece of it your world.
I'm literally flabbergasted.
I was too, because I tried it with a couple of different
blown
foods.
Away by so you just took a picture of it, you boiled it down, you zoomed in essentially, and you said, this is my world now, and then you like write in, and then you write in like the different areas and stuff.
There was a whole bunch of stuff to do. I mean, when you've got the black and the white separated, then you can grab just the white, take that as a color layer and stick it on top of an ocean, and then maybe put behind that color layer the different shades for the different areas of desert or forest or jungle or whatever, and just color it to pieces. It has lakes in it already. It has natural bays. That's where you stick your cities.
I'm so speechless right now. That's amazing, man. That's so hilariously amazing. Like this is what I mean. Like the creativity of this game. Like map making generators can go suck it. You go find yourself a nice cut of beef and you make a goddamn map like Anim 5.
You know what the other method is? The other method is tell the folks if they're coming over for a game, you're going to create the world together. Okay. Tell them to bring a dirty T-shirt.
A dirty T-shirt. Okay.
You take that dirty T-shirt and flip it over your shoulder to the middle of the room. Then the next person does it. Next person does it. And get on an ottoman or a chair or a stepladder or whatever. Take yourself a nice, good phone shot of that pile of T-shirts from above. There's your continent.
I am like. This is what you did in the past when you didn't have Google to just go and say generate a content.
Did the T-shirt. Yeah, I never did the T-shirt thing, but yeah, it's just make it happen. It's your world. Do whatever.
I am literally blown away. That is one of the coolest and most unique things I have heard thus far. All right, so
it was fun to find out. Go to the anim5.com thing. Yeah, you can get pictures of those. You'll see if you click on the gutter Skypes and I will. Or actually, you know what? I'll just send you links. I'll send you links to.
Well, at the end of this, for sure, send me links. I'll put it in your description and such. But all right. So and that's Zutain, Zutiin, like that.
AIN, but like it matters.
AIN. I can't spell it all. Anyway.
Zutain was what I called it.
Beautiful. All right, so we have your first 5th edition Zutain, world made from a piece of roast beef.
Yep.
Please tell me more. How did you? What else did you create? Where did you go from there? You have this world, so would you build a story? Did you use a piece of toast, or sorry, just being a jerk. Like what it is? I had one of my earliest guests created an entire world based off of food. So but that was in the imaginary part. He didn't use physical food, and that's why I was like, I'm just amazed. So, what else did you do after that? You had your world.
Well, I had to figure out some kind of at least basic story for the folks to get involved in. I didn't map out an entire campaign. Mm-hmm. I just started with the port town that they were going to go to, which was Sheep Curse.
Okay.
And that was on a continent, which who knows? Maybe the guy enjoyed it when he swallowed it, but. In the picture, I just zeroed in on a piece of what was essentially an entire planet worth of geography and called that the island of Quincunx. I figured it would be 200 miles tall, 200 miles north to south, 200 miles east to west. And I said, just start here. Okay. And then name towns and roads and whatever, and had them start in the port town. Sure. And everything just kind of grew from there. The players, the Gutter Skypes group, and shout out to them, by the way. Thank you all very much for the enrichments. Yeah.
Just real quick, did they know that they were playing on a piece of, like, the map was a piece of beef, or did you keep that to yourself at first?
No, I had it up on YouTube on exactly how to do it, but I was throwing in too many commercials for my comedy bottles, so I kind of took it down. Also, the map I created looked like a chia pet with the mange.
Okay, back to your. All right, so you had your continue.
Yeah, it didn't do so well, but the characters that created were fun.
Yeah,
and they had depth, and they were interacting very well with the world. And they pretty much took it from there. Nice. I suppose one of the most earliest memorable moments for them, for me as a DM, was one of their second or third quests or missions or whatever challenges. They had to go out and get kill essentially and bring back the head of a killer maniac and his brigands who had murdered somebody in town. It was on the eve of God's toasting. I didn't have Christmas. I had God's toasting, where the entire isle would toast to the gods for letting their orchards, whatever, flourish. So they're celebrating, and then they're approached to get this guy. They go up the road a couple of miles, come across a wagon surrounded by dead goblins, and some dragging off into the woods. The wagon was ransacked. It was completely trashed, but there were frozen dead goblin bodies in the snow. They creeped into the woods and discovered what eventually became the scenario was a farming couple who had taken to the road were ambushed by the goblins, but the goblins were killed by the brigands as if they were rescuing this young couple. And then they dragged them both into the woods, which is, and smacked the husband in the head with a rock and tied the woman to a tree. And there was going to be some serious, nasty stuff going on as the hero party snuck up on them. This guy was going to sexually assault this woman.
All right.
While her husband was laying in a ditch behind a tent, bleeding to death. So, of course, they went in and made short work of them pretty handily. But once they had done that and freed the woman, I think one party member, threw a kind of a cloak around her shoulder saying, you'll get over it. The rest of them were going through all this stuff that was scattered around from bags and boxes and chests and blankets and whatever, just scattered about. And Trilobite, the player's name was Trilobite, was playing a black dragonborn named Rogar, who was brought up by velociraptors in a jungle on the other side of the world. Okay, he was the ultimate. He was a ranger, a black dragonborn ranger, but he was the ultimate example of the noble savage adopting to the civilized world, and he played it beautifully. I mean, just beautifully, perfect description of whatever. He's attending to the husband and applying healing, trying to stabilize him and get him, all straightened out and. Yeah. What's up? Cool. The rest of the party are stuffing the personal effects of these people, this couple, into their pocket.
Oh my God.
And like, a hairbrush, a mirror, a comb, scented soaps, a child's shoe, which ended up being like the last thing they had of their.
Oh my gosh.
I'm telling you, personal effects. It's like, guys.
Oh my gosh.
This stuff belongs to the people you just rescued. Brigands do not travel around with soft, scented soaps and journals and nice travel clothes and things like that. These people just, escaped from town hours ago after burning another couple to death down by the fishing route, and they were kind of like, oh yeah.
I think
it was a dragonborn that was brought up by velociraptors who was behaving like a humane, empathetic creature. It's like
I think that sometimes it's hard to remember. Like, you're just like, I don't know, investigate, and then they're like, oh, you find this stuff. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna take that stuff. I'm like, oh, you forget. Like, wait, no, that was someone's. Like, I don't know. You're going through a house sometime looking for someone, and you're just like, what am I taking? I'm just taking these things. Actually, I think we kind of did that. We did a Christmas one shot the other day, and we were just kind of like going through houses. And I was playing a drunken master monk, and I was like just taking their alcohol, and I was like, oh yeah, wait, I'm just stealing their alcohol, and then I died actually. So, but
oh, that's a bummer.
Yeah, it was my first character to ever die. First character to die.
Oh man, really?
The death saves got me, and it was my DM's first time killing a character, and she also killed our sorcerer, so she double kill for the first time ever. Basically, because we both got it was a pretty difficult encounter, but we got crit on, and the crit was like a super high. It was just we just got it was just unlucky rolls, really, is what it came down to. Just very very like she just rolled really well, and we just rolled really bad, and that's the way the cookie crumbles. But it was a one shot, so one shot characters.
That'll do it, yeah.
And but
I was about to say, at least you didn't have. At least it wasn't some.
I wasn't emotionally invested in the character
for 3 years.
He was a drunken nonsense. I've just wanted to play a monk for the first time, so I was like, let's go with the drunk one, and his name was Schnapps.
Perfect.
So R.I.P. Schnapps. So did you end up? Speaking of your world, did you end up killing of these players? Any of your in this campaign in your world? Did you?
No, I continually. I mean, for 5e and for game mastering, I wasn't. I had some miles behind me. I had some experience with that, but for 5e, right. I didn't. And as a result, I was continually encounter after encounter after encounter, continually underestimating.
Just getting smoked.
What these folks could do. I always thought I was throwing something at them. I was like, I got to be real careful with this because I could take out everything I threw at him is dead. Well, what should we do now?
Honestly, I did learn pretty much almost a year ago. My friend was like, I'm gonna run a one shot for you, but it's gonna be. It is basically D in Dark Souls, like just one of the hardest. He's like, I didn't balance this combat at all, just so you know, like full disclosure. But one thing he did send, like, we got messed up, like, in the beginning, but we mostly, he said, come with a backup character because stuff, but, like, we pretty much did it. Like, we did really well. We managed to escape and then, like, save our friend, whatever. But one thing he said to me, he goes, players are way more powerful than most people give them credit. And it's true. Like, someone who's, I mean, I use combat calculators because I'm bad with math and stuff like that, but, like, people can really handle a lot. And especially if they're clever, like, once they're like, we're going to go in stealthy, and then they roll well, you're like, this is going to go real fast. They're just going to walk in here and smoke it. And that happens sometimes. Yeah. But did you eventually, like, adjust? And get it to a more balanced?
I would say no. I still don't have it figured out.
Still don't have it figured out.
I still keep thinking that, if I throw enough numbers or I throw something that's a high enough CR, then I'm gonna at least. I have yet to have to explain, and I probably wouldn't because I know by now. But I've yet to explain death saving throws.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, you gotta.
It's like it's never even gotten there.
You gotta make them. You don't gotta kill them. Just make them think that you will. I think that's the.
Or at least give them some reason for caution. We also played Doctor Who.
Oh, that's so awesome! I wanna. That is one I will definitely clear a day for if I could try a Doctor Who.
Mark Kinney ran that one, and I unfortunately I think we only got 2 sessions into it.
I'm still. Go ahead.
You recently got back into Doctor Who. I thought I heard you say.
I used to. So I watched it in college a lot, and when I met my wife, we both would watch it together, and then we kind of fell off. The past couple of years after Peter Capaldi, we just kind of stopped, but we recently picked it back up and we watched the new season with the new Doctor, and then we're like, let's just start from the beginning. So we're making our way through New Who, starting with Chris Eccleston. When we're I think almost at the end of the first season of David Tennant, so we're making our way through. But I was thinking, I feel like that game probably runs well as a one shot because Doctor Who episodes are kind of. Sometimes there's a general overarching theme, but they tend to run similar to a one-shot, unless it's a two-parter.
Yeah, the long through lines, or rather the long arc writing was more during David Tennant's stay with them. I had a theory about Doctor Who that I was really proud of for a while that probably somebody else already came up with, but I don't know about it. It has to do with why. Well, I think recently I saw the BBC is 50 years old. No, 100 years old this year. And Doctor Who is 50 years old this year. And I'm thinking, what the hell stays around for 50 years and why did this become so popular?
Uh-huh.
And I don't need to explain to you the breakdown of the basic frameworks of theater or show presentation or anything like that. You have a certain set of rules. You have a protagonist that's supposed to win the day. You have the antagonist that's supposed to be defeated or maybe escape to fight with them another day. Generally, it's the good versus bad, the hero's journey, all that sort of stuff with normal, regular people under extraordinary circumstances. And I should have known, really, this is not something new. This is something like, I don't know, when was Greek theater? 5,000 years ago? Mm-hmm. I'm probably being a dork and not knowing, but Greek theater. You've been in the city. You've seen window washing scaffolds.
Yeah.
Those little platforms that they lower on the cables on the outside of the buildings. Picture that a little bit smaller, maybe about half the size, and made of wood, and having sparkly clouds and lightning bolts cut out on the outside of it, moving around as if someone was turning a crank, and being lowered down on a stage, specifically a Greek amphitheater. Because they're showing a play where the mortals were so stupid and so screwed up that they mess everything up in their world through whatever assumptions or imaginations or fantasies or whatever. And it was up to the god, whatever god from the Greek pantheon they decided was going to be the star that day, in the show, would come down and straighten everything out at the end of the show. It might have been because they were just, that particular play had a sucky writer and he didn't know how to end it. Right. Whatever. They would lower the machine and the god would step out of it. And that's where we get the phrase Deus ex machina.
Oh.
The god from the machine. They literally lowered the god into the play from the machine, from the platform or whatever. Okay. And I thought, that's who Doctor Who is. Mm. They cut out the protagonist. They cut out they don't cut out the protagonist, but the sub-characters, the background characters, even the evil villains, the Daleks, anything. They're the background to the main character being the Deus ex machina, the one that's supposed to make everything right at the end, at the very end.
Yeah.
He's not the hero. He's the god that's supposed to save the hero and everyone else. So what do you have? You have a Time Lord stepping out of a TARDIS. If that's not Deus Ex Machina.
Oh, it's very interesting, yeah.
So they tried a new approach. They tried something entirely different, and it seems to have caught on.
Yeah.
50 years worth.
Yeah.
Sorry, that sidetracked us.
No, that's okay. That's fine. We can talk things. I kind of, not to just be to try and pull this back, but it all does kind of go together with storytelling and D&D and everything, because it's all based off of the same thing: imagination and chance and writing,
catharsis,
creativity. It all comes back to that. Let's do. We're kind of coming to the end here, but do you have one more quick story you want to share, like favorite DMing or playing?
I got
one of your favorites.
I don't. I'd have to say probably one of my favorites would be a real life example of rolling a natural one.
Sure, that's a new one. I like that too. Your real life natural ones. Everybody, I think, like people who play these games like us, when like you do something and your brain just clicks, like that would have been that's a natural one right there, or a nat 20. Sometimes.
Oh yeah,
sometimes you do
nat 20s are fun and great to have, but sometimes you roll a natural one.
All right, so how did you roll a natural one in real life?
I was doing a stage check for I don't remember the name of the show. Doesn't matter. It was supposed to be a fun comedy where a guy is dealing with friends and family and people or whatever he's meeting on a bridge. And so at some point during the production, he's got to stand in a specific spot on stage and it has to appear very vividly to the audience that a pigeon has crapped on his shoulder.
Okay.
The writer's pencil can go anywhere. It's up to the stage techs and the directors to make it actually work.
Right.
Not so easy, whatever. The head technician at the time thought, I know just what's going to really scream out, even under stage light, that this guy got crapped on by a pigeon. It's this white chalk line stuff.
Okay.
It's a chalk powder that you put into chalk lines. Whatever it was.
Oh, okay. I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
We mixed that in with some water, and we just and we had 25 feet above the guy on the grid, looking down with a little mini turkey baster or something, and waiting for the cue. And this was, thank God, it was during rehearsals.
Oh,
it wasn't during an actual production, so I got a little saving throw there.
Okay.
He said the line, I squeezed the bulb, the blop of whatever that white chalk mixture in the water went down.
Right.
And the actor looked up.
Oh, no.
Yeah, right in the eye.
Oh.
And what the head tech there, or myself, or anybody else didn't know, was that chalk line white has a very caustic and acidic kind of lye mixed in with it.
Oh,
so this guy got bullseyed, nailed, sadly, by me, with an eye full of acidic white powder, and the next hour and a half was him screaming, "I am not going to the hospital," while he was in the green room washing his eye out.
Oh my gosh! Is that a show must go on kind of deal?
He recovered. Fortunately, the show didn't open for another 4 or 5 days, so he had time to get over it. He kept reassuring me. It's like, I know it's not your fault, and I really shouldn't have looked up, but. From that point on, of course, I was like, I am not using this stuff again.
No,
regardless.
For sure. Arguably, I'd say, if anything, you rolled to hit very well, and and I think he failed his saving throw. I think he failed his deck save, if anything.
Yeah, maybe. Looking up in the wrong time was not such a good move, but I switched to yogurt from that point on.
Yogurt's
just use yogurt in the beginning, yeah.
Yeah, probiotics and everything, and not acidic.
Yeah.
This was a lot of fun, Adam 5. Thank you so much.
I enjoyed this very much, and it was a pleasure to be on. Thank you.
Absolutely. All right. Why don't you tell the folks at home where they can find you, or tell them about send me all the links after and stuff, but tell them about yourself and anything else you want to share.
Well, if you put a .com after my name, if you just put .com, Anum5.com, and it's the number 5, you will just go to that site, and you will find a rabbit hole that will keep you entertained for many, many lunchtimes, or anything else that you'd like to entertain yourself with. You'll find out more about me than even my relatives would care to know if you go there. That's my refrigerator. When you're all excited as a kid and you got a crayon drawing and you're out to your parents and say, "Look at this, isn't it great?" and they put it on the fridge, Anum5.com is my refrigerator for me to run up to people and say, "Ooh, get excited about this. This was fun. I enjoyed it."
Cool.
That's about it. You can find everything else from there. Thank you.
I did scope the website. There was a bunch of cool stuff on there. It's so, like you said, it's like a refrigerator. It's a little chaos, but if you sift through it, you do find some very cool stuff on there. So
there's some fun to be had.
I'll do my side. So once again, if you want to be a guest on the show here and come on and talk about fun D&D stuff, or you see clearly we go off the rails and talk about all types of nerd stuff, you can just email me at youhadtobethere dndpodcast@gmail.com. Adam5 figured it out, so I'm sure everyone else can as well. And I really appreciate all the fun and support. It's been great having friends on and people like you, just randoms. I'm meeting, and I'm creating a network almost of all of my favorite tabletop role-playing people. So thank you for
Excellent.
that. Follow me at Tom DeSillis Comedy on Instagram. It's T DeSillis Comedy on Twitter, which is where I usually tweet out when the show goes live. You can follow us here on Twitch, You Had to Be There podcast, or you can find the YouTube videos. If you type in You Had to Be There D&D Storytelling Podcast, you'll find my thing, or Tom DeSillis on YouTube. And pretty much the audio will be, it's wherever you get your podcasts. But, all right, thanks again for listening. This has been You Had to Be There with Adam 5. Bye, everyone.
Take it easy. Super time.